Alright, so we're now ready to move on to our fourth mint chocolate popsicle. So how we're going to start this is we're going to take the rectangular tool here, and we're just going to draw a rectangular shape. And again, you want variety, so try a different width, try a different height. And don't forget to round your tops and your bottoms. So take your direct selection tool and select your tops by holding shift. And we're going to round this one out completely. And then select your bottom ones by holding shift and round those out slightly. This time I'm going to make sure that I have no stroke, and I'm going to choose a green color. I'm going to choose this one right here. Nice green color. And what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this shape. So I'm going to go back to my selection tool and make sure my green popsicle is selected. I'm going to hold Control C to copy, Control F to paste in the front, and I'm going to give this new shape that's on top a chocolatey brown fill, and I'm going to pick this one right here. So this is like a chocolate topping, so I want to get rid of some of this excess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw just a temporary box over my chocolate, and it can be about 60% of the way up. And we're going to make sure that you are on the selection tool, and you're going to select that temporary rectangle, and you're going to hold shift and select your brown popsicle. And then in the Pathfinder menu, and once again, if you don't have Pathfinder, just go up here to Window and make sure Pathfinder's clicked. In that Pathfinder menu, you want to choose the option that says minus front and click that once. What happens is that it clips it away, leaving just the chocolatey top. What we're going to do now is we're going to add some drips to our popsicle. So we're going to go back to the rectangle tool. And when you make your rectangles, I want you to make them so that they're in the green part and the brown part. So make your rectangle here. And then I want you to duplicate that shape. So I'm going to go back to your selection tool, hold Alt, and move it over. And you want them to be evenly spaced, so you might have to adjust the spacing as needed. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to make sure that you're on the selection tool, select the chocolate top, hold shift and select those two chocolate rectangles, and then you're going to go to the shape builder tool located on the left hand toolbar and go ahead and click that. So how the shape builder tool, you can either build or deconstruct. What we're going to do is we're going to hold the Alt key, and what you might have noticed when you hold the Alt key, you see a subtraction sign. And while holding Alt, you want to take your mouse and click on the sections of the leftmost rectangle, and you notice that when you do that, they subtract the sections. Now we're going to unite the shape. So I'm going to let go of Alt, and I'm just going to click on the bottommost rectangle, and I'm going to drag it up. And you might have noticed that there's a red box that appears. That means they're uniting them as I drag my mouse across. So I'm going to drag it across all the way to the top, let go, and you notice that now it's one whole shape. So our shape is united. So we're going to switch over to the direct selection tool here, and you're going to select your bottommost bullseyes by holding shift. So just select the bottommost bullseyes and take your time, make sure you select them all. And then you're going to bring them all in so that it has that really cool dripping effect. I'm going to go to the selection tool so you can kind of see what it looks like. And then now we're going to add the highlight using the arc tool. And once again, if you right click on the line segment tool, you'll find that. And we're going to draw an arc. Make sure you hold shift. on my popsicle. You're going to make sure that you have a white stroke, that it's 4 points in weight, and that you have your round caps on your popsicle. I'm going to take the selection tool and kind of click out so you can see what yours looks like. Now what you're going to do next is you're going to select the green popsicle, so make sure that's selected. You know it's selected because you'll see the shape pop up here in that transparency window. You're going to hit Control C to copy, Control F to paste in the front, and then you're going to right click on that shape, and then you're going to go to Arrange, Bring to Front. That's a really important step so that your chocolate and your highlight no longer is seen. I'm going to zoom out here, and I'm going to find a watercolor texture that complements my green popsicle. So I'm going to choose number 24. I'm going to right click, open with Illustrator, and I'm going to copy this, so Control C and Control V, and I'm going to zoom out so that I can size this appropriately. Okay. So what you're going to do now is you are going to put your shape, your watercolor, over your popsicle. What you might have noticed is that you don't see that green part. So sometimes you might have to click on the shapes and kind of unearth them to see what happened. It looks like you might have forgotten to bring to the front, so you can always go back and go to Arrange, Bring to Front, and move that over. So that's a quick, easy fix. So with the selection tool, make sure your watercolor is selected. Hold Shift, make sure your green popsicle is selected. And you want to do right click, make clipping mask. It's gonna look kind of crazy at first, but once again, just make sure that you change your blending mode. So I'm gonna try a blending mode called Overlay. And once again, choose something that looks good to you. So once you're done with that, you might notice that the brown doesn't look so good. So what you're going to do is you're going to right click on this green popsicle, and then you're going to go to Arrange, and then you're going to go Send Backward. Okay, so that now it's a really subtle thing, but you can now see the brown shape again. And if it didn't work for you, just keep doing it until you see it. So go back and send backward. You can also use your hotkey control brackets, but this is what you want it to look like, so that the chocolatey brown is there and your highlights there. So we're going to give some texture to that chocolatey brown color. So what we're going to do is select the chocolate, and you know it's selected because you'll see the shape in that transparency window. You're going to hit Control C to copy, Control F to paste in the front, and then the big key thing, right click, Arrange, Bring to Front, so that the highlight disappears. We're going to go back to the watercolor textures, and I'm going to select, let's see here, Now look for one that complements that chocolate brown color. I'm going to pick number 2. And we're going to right click, open with Illustrator. We're going to copy it by hitting Control C, paste it by hitting Control V, and resize. And you want to make sure that it covers that chocolate section. Okay. So again, if you go over it and you can't see that chocolate color, it's because it's not in the front. So again, you might need to sort through and see where your shapes are. Make sure that you right click arrange, bring to front, and then move your watercolor over so now that you can see it. Once again, with your selection tool, make sure the watercolor is selected, hold shift, select the chocolate, and then right click, make clipping mask. So it's really pink, it doesn't look like chocolate coating. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the blending mode, and again, change the blending mode to something that looks good to you. I like multiply because it's nice and subtle, but you might have noticed that the highlight doesn't look very good. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to either
Good morning, everybody.
So again, to get rid of that highlight, you want to make sure that you either right click, go to arrange, send backward, or you can use your hotkeys, which is what I like to do, and you can hit control and then the leftmost bracket to send backwards once, and now your highlight's back. So I'm going to zoom out here, and the last thing that we need is our popsicle stick. So I'm going to make sure I'm on the selection tool, take the popsicle stick, hold shift, select the shadow, and we're going to hold alt and just drag it to where it intersects perfectly with the other popsicle. So we're pretty much done with this popsicle now, and we're ready for the fifth one, but I need to make space. So how you can make space easily is you can just take the selection tool and select these individual popsicles and just take your arrow keys and move them gently to the side of the screen. So I'm just taking my selection tool and I'm moving everything over. And eventually you want everything evenly spaced. So I'm going to move this over. Okay, so now we're ready for our fifth and final popsicle.